Hey guys, it's Noah and
I'm Evan.
So welcome to Sanctuary Church Online. If you've never joined us before, we are a progressive revolutionary church that believes that...
Hang on.
He's got this.
Love wins.
There it is, period. And we really do. We believe that it's our responsibility to be the hands and the feet of Jesus' teachings and really kind of, go out and do stuff.
Yeah,
and be part of that. So
you'll know
it's pretty neat.
That works and all that.
Yeah. So this is the best time if you like what we've already said and you've been with us before and you haven't done it, because there's like 60% of you guys that do not like and subscribe. So no, like and subscribe. It really helps us grow. And then also you have to share it with somebody else.
You should share it on all the social media platforms you're part of. Anything, really, just blast it out there to everything. And then when you're done with it, I would like you to email this to your grandmother. Honestly, you should just talk to her. It's probably been a while.
Just pick up the phone. So we're going into something that's kind of neat today. I don't really know exactly the bits and pieces, so we're going to all go on this journey together, but it's something about like...
We're dealing with everybody's favorite people, tax collectors.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, I love tax collectors. So you like tax? I don't think I know a tax collector. Do you know a tax collector?
No, but I don't like taxes.
We're going to learn about it, so.
All right.
Let's go on that ride together.
Lord of our richest encounters, you heard the hidden cry of Zacchaeus to welcome you into his home. Teach us to hear the whispers of the world, to feel its pain, and then bravely voice so many cries for justice and for peace. Creator God, swirling, formless one, hovering over creation and bringing new things to life, you speak new worlds into being with language that creates and liberates. Eternal God, living, limitless one, inhabiting the vast universe with rich complexity of your being, you reveal yourself to your creatures and invite us to know you. Mother God, nurturing, welcoming one, opening yourself wide to the joy and pain of loving your people, you place us in communities and families that echo your true nature. Holy God, we thank you for the ways in which we have known and understood you. We thank you for the metaphors that have opened our eyes to more of who you are. We thank you for the language that has brought the transcendent, timeless, mysterious God within our grasp. Holy God, we are hungry for more of you. We ask you to reveal more of yourself to us, to take us beyond the confines of familiar habits, to free us from the restrictions and distortions of our language, to expand our understanding of you so that we can love you wholeheartedly, we can communicate you faithfully, and we can reflect your full image to a world that needs you. Amen.
Hey, good day. This is Pastor Dwayne from Sanctuary Church. Nice to be with you. And I have to tell you, there are times I get like really big kick out of the people that come to this church because they know that I have like this slightly bent sense of humor, And so I was talking a couple Sundays ago about the idea of Jesus being, that we try to make Jesus very small. We try to make Jesus something that we can control. And so I come at Monday morning and I see that somebody got me a little Jesus. And I thought that was so great. And so and they even got me a box so that I could put little Jesus in the box, because it's kind of like what we try to do in church nowadays, is that we try to just put Jesus right in that box, and we got Jesus in that box, and if I need Jesus, I know where Jesus is. And I can just keep Jesus in that box. You know what I'm saying? And this is like so wrong, it's so wrong. You should be like screaming at the television or the computer, like heresy, heresy. You can't put Jesus in the box. And that's the idea, is that we start to understand that God is so big that we continue to try to put God in this box. That God is this or God is that. And it said a couple of years ago, there were scientist that said, look out at the stars. There are so many stars in the universe that there are actually 6 stars for every human being on Earth. And then a few years later, they came back and they went, wow, we did look out into the universe. And we've come to a conclusion that there's actually 6 universes for every person on Earth. And so if God created the universe that is expanding and giant, if God has to be bigger than God's creation. So how big is God? Bigger than the universes. And so the idea of trying to put God in a box doesn't work, and it won't work. We can't control God. And I think that that's what I love so much about the Gospels, is that the Gospels have this kind of interesting multi-perspective of Jesus' life. That there are like all these multiple, they come to this conclusion in different ways, in different meanings. That none of them are exactly the same, really. And that it always leaves us questioning, how do we find the truth within this gospel if they all seem to have different sides and angles and edges to them? And it's kind of like a diamond, when you hold it up and you look at it and you turn it and you see the different facets in it and it changes. That the Gospels are like that. That there are different accounts of Jesus' life. These 4 accounts, trying to give us perspective into all the different angles of Jesus and our understandings. And you have to keep in mind that the Gospels were written for an audience. So whoever they were being written for, whether it was Gentiles or Jews, there's an angle to it. A different audience with a different mind and a different understanding. So it's really, truly beautiful. It's revealing to see these Gospels. They help us understand Jesus in multiple ways. And it shows that the action of God in the world cannot be edited down to like these little bite-sized, prepackaged meanings. So when somebody tells you this is what the gospel means, I question it, because sometimes we have to say the gospel sometimes is a mystery. And that God is larger than what we can put into a box. It's like it's an incredible mystery. It's an irresistible tapestry of a mosaic. And it deepens us because it expands us. It doesn't make us more narrow. And so I think that this is how we have to read the Gospels, to understand that something larger than ourselves are being talked about. So if we can have Evan come back over, and if he could read Luke 19 for us, and that's where we'll start.
Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked at him and said, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He's gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost."
That was great. Thank you, Evan. That was really, really good. Let me clarify a few things, okay? One is that Zacchaeus is small. So you need to understand, and he's also just not a tax collector, he's like a chief tax collector, okay? So now you're dealing with somebody who's very small, who probably gets pushed and shoved and elbowed in the dusty roads when people are walking by. He probably gets a bit abused because he is a chief tax collector. And tax collectors were considered like extortionists. You know, they were considered like, they made up these fictitious taxes on goods. They would lend money to people and make them pay back large amounts where they couldn't ever really pay it back. It was even said that some tax collectors would actually go out to the caravans of people coming in and say, dump all your stuff out, I will decide what you owe. So tax collectors weren't considered, great people. They suited themselves. They would take the sheep. They would take whatever they wanted. Tax collectors were considered unclean, and they were classified in the same classifications of murderers and robbers. So let's look at a couple verses and kind of talk about the idea that Jesus is seeming to hang out with these people. And why? I mean, why would he do that? These are the lowest of the low people. So when we look at verses, we start to read about this idea that Jesus, he actually, even before he started his ministry, John the Baptist, his cousin, is baptizing people and preparing the way. John the Baptist is at the Jordan River, and even tax collectors are coming to him. And so this is kind of already foreshadowing what Jesus is going to do. So in Luke 3:7, John says to the crowd, come. John says to the crowd, come out to be baptized by him. And he looks over and he says, you brood of vipers, who warned you to flee from the upcoming wrath? Don't you love John? I mean, John's he's went to the Tony Robbins school of making friends and influencing people. You can tell, he's really on, okay? I mean, this is, and so he turns and he says, you produce fruit in keeping with your repentance. And if you do not begin to say to yourself, oh, we are Abraham's family. We are the father of Abraham. For I tell you right now, John repeats, that these stones on the ground, God could raise up children of Abraham. But the axe is already at the root, and the tree that does not produce good fruit will be cut down and thrown into the fire. Now, he must have made a pretty good impression on these people, because the first thing that they respond is they say, okay. What do we do? What do you want us to do? What do you want to do? And John answers, if you have 2 shirts, you should share one with somebody who has none. And if you have food, you should do the same. And even the tax collectors, here it is, even the tax collectors came to be baptized. Teacher, they ask, what should we do? And John says, do not collect any more than you are required to. Don't collect any more than you're required to. See, even before Jesus started his ministry, the person who was making it smooth, getting it ready for Jesus, was already talking and baptizing tax collectors. And then in Matthew 9, Jesus comes up and he walks and he sees a man named Matthew, who's the author of this book. And he sees him sitting in a tax collector booth. Why? Because he's a tax collector. And Jesus says to him, follow me. And he does. And then while Jesus is having dinner, Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate. They ate with Jesus and his disciples, and the Pharisees saw this. Why do your teacher, why does he eat with the tax collectors and sinners? And on hearing this, Jesus says to the Pharisees, it's not for the healthy that I need to be here. It is not for the healthy that the doctor is there. It's for the sick. And then he turns to him and he says, go and learn what I mean by this. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. So Jesus his inner sanctum, his disciples, his followers. Some of them are tax collectors. And so Jesus' rep is, I can be a sinner and a tax collector, I can be a horrible person within this, and Jesus somehow seems to love me. He eats with tax collectors, he eats with the poor, eats with the sick, he eats with the prostitutes. So Jesus is walking, and he's talking because he's a rabbi. And he's out in the open air. And I think that tells us a little bit about the humanity of God, that it's not held in some secret place. It's not boxed in. It's something that is just spread out to everybody to hear. See, Jesus comes along not from a throne or not from like a chariot charging in, not from like a black air-conditioned, limo. But he walks among us. He meets us right where we are on the road that we're traveling on. He's traveling from Jericho to Jerusalem, and he's actually God incarnate in human form, feeling everything that we feel. Actually stepping into our shoes. See, when you actually step into somebody else's shoes, you start to feel their pain. You feel their anguish. And Jesus is going through the Mount of Olives, and he will look down at Jerusalem and know that soon he will be crucified. He stays and prays at these ancient trees. And all this must have been weighing on his mind. But on his way there, he sees Zacchaeus. And he says to him, I'm coming to your house tonight, man. I'm coming to your house. And Zacchaeus is this tax collector, a chief tax collector. And he's corruption like on steroids, okay? That's what this guy was about. He takes advantage of others, makes profits. He's corrupt. And I'm so glad we don't have any of that problem with us here anywhere in this world, where we actually have corrupt people that take advantage of the situation. And it's not clear whether Zacchaeus is wanting to just merely observe Jesus or what, but he has to climb up into this tree so that he can see. Maybe he hopes to address Jesus directly. Maybe he wants to encounter him. But there are all these obstacles. There are all these obstacles. And we look at this and we say, how many obstacles are in our way sometimes when we want to encounter God? How many things get in our way from experiencing the true grace that God pours down upon us? What things hinder us, hold us back? But we know one thing. We know that Jesus' love is unstoppable. The Zacchaeus, he sees this little man in the tree, and he says, I'm coming to your house tonight. I'm coming into your life today. Not tomorrow, not next week. And I'm going to meet you right where you are. And that somehow this love transforms Zacchaeus in this way of like, I will give, if I've cheated anybody, I will give them back their money. I will do it twice over. See, Jesus seeks out the lost and seeks out the way of pushing the stumbling blocks away. There are times that we look at it and we say, what is hindering our church's ministry in this world? Because by the power of Jesus' love and the grace that we don't deserve, we know that Christ is doing something incredible. See, we accept Christ and the idea of God's grace, And then churches spend 2,000 years arguing over who can receive the grace and who can't. And this is a love that transforms us. See, Jesus walked within the communities and saw the needs and provided for those people. And maybe that's what the church is supposed to do, is that let God's love transform us. To walk into our communities around us that are outside and start to understand what we really need, what they are needing. To ask our community, what is it that you need the most? And a lot of people will say, affordable housing. I need churches to help us with affordable housing, but that's what we are doing. We are building affordable housing here. They tell us that we need something for our kids to do after school. And so part of the plan is to build something after school programs of music and theater, dance, all sorts of things where kids can come and live in safe places and be loved by people who express Christ's love to them. That they can play music and learn how to write music. I hear kids that talk to me that are now in jail or in prison, and they say, if I had a youth group to go to like the youth group you guys used to run. I mean, the people in this church, Noah and Evan, Cindy, all of these people helped create a youth group that had hundreds of kids coming to it at different times and different places. And basically what they did is they loved them and gave them a safe place to be. So we will do that here too. We will create a safe place for kids to be, where they can talk about what they need to talk about, their concerns, their worries. And where churches now are turning their backs on their recovery programs, we are opening our doors to the recovery programs. I was here just on Wednesday night. Noah and I were walking around, and we could see that over on the far side there were probably 100 people, 20s and 30-something, in Recovery Unplugged. A recovery organization put together by musicians. Then we saw another group behind us on the side, and probably 75 in that room, and another group that were probably another 25 over in the other room. And you could feel the breathing of this land, this church, this sanctuary. That people's lives were being changed. That they were being changed. That this was actually sacred ground that people came to and realized that my life can be changed here at this place. You could feel it breathing. See, God is here to transform people's lives. We must walk among those people. And we must show them God's love. And then it's up to God. God works in people's hearts and souls. See, Zacchaeus, he stood up and he said, Lord, 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 here, now, I will give half my possessions to the poor. His heart was changed. I won't cheat anybody. And if I've cheated anybody, I'll pay them back 4 times. See, this idea of God's love is what we need to do. We need to pray for guidance and direction in God's Spirit. We need to pray, and it needs to not be a monologue, but a dialogue. We need time to listen. See, we live in a world where we need to get a moral defibrillator out and bring this country back to life. We must learn to love one another, and we must be able to meet the people right where they are, wherever they are. My great-great-grandmother, Mimi, used to always say, she'd say, honey, she called me honey, I thought that was so sweet. She'd say, honey, you must love people up, not love them down. And I always thought that was so good. The idea that we lift people up. We must challenge all this hatred by his love. When Jesus saw Zacchaeus, he said, I'm coming into your house today, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. I'm coming into your house, I'm coming into your home, I'm coming into your life with this transforming love. That by his love, we are changed. If we're falling down, this love picks us up and carries us. If you feel like you can't go on anymore, this love refreshes you. This love meets you right where you are today. And it is by this transforming love we are changed. By his love. By his love. By his love. Amen. Amen. I leave you with a blessing and a benediction, okay? And that is that may you be filled with this Spirit of God that seems to move us and direct us. That God is larger than we have any idea. May you be filled with this love. May you be filled with grace. And may you pour that out into the world. May you be blessed so that you are a blessing. Amen.
Wow, that's again, it's always these like big, it's interesting to go on these journeys with Pastor Dwayne because what were the things that we go through? Because I wrote it down so we went through the bigness of the universe,
tax collectors, which I was expecting. I heard about that.
Well, that we knew that was the giveaway. God's love, that's kind of God's love. We're a church. How we need to be better Christians. How we need to partner up better with recovery groups. How our church breathes and is alive, and it's true. It's really interesting.
And the fun things that we, as a church, are going to be doing in the next coming years.
Exactly. Some kind of adventurous new things. Why affordable housing is so important.
Oh.
Yeah. A living wage and all that nonsense. And then our effect on outreach. So I think that was a journey.
Yeah, if you thought that's where we were going, you need to play the lotto.
I only heard about tax collectors at the beginning, so that was I don't know. I'm gonna have to digest this for a little while.
I do have to say though, if you have not at this point liked and subscribed to this channel after hearing all of that and where we're going in the future, if you want to see where we're going in the future and keep up with us, I would highly suggest liking and subscribing now.
We go live for all different things. It's not just church services. So if you guys want to be aware of the cool things that are happening, some of the cool things that are happening is we just got done with this massive, what was it? Trunk or treat.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. So you can go online and check out some of the cool pictures of that. And then also we have this massive turkey giveaway that we're putting together again. It's going on like 6 years now or something like that. Thank you so much for joining us this week. I really, really hope this message meant something to you. And again, really, it's important to share. Somebody else may need to hear a positive, encouraging, faith-filled message. And we'll see you next week, guys.